name is Jermaine, and I am the co-writer, co-producer, co-director of the award-winning web series, The Big Dick Show.
And I'm Jason Lever. I'm the creator and writer, director, cinematographer, etc. of Out with Dad.
I'm Jonathan Robbins, and take all that stuff and change the last word to clutch.
And I'm Paul Jerome. I'm the co-writer, co-producer, co-director of the Big Dick Mike Show, which won Marseille Web Fest last year.
My name's Hayden. I'm an alcoholic. No, I'm the creator, director of Divine the Series and the upcoming web series After.
I'm Ferguson. I'm with the series Guidestones.
Okay, so what do you guys think about the web fest so far? I know today's the official day. We all got here yesterday. Tell me about your experiences so far.
Well, having been here last year, I think it's starting off pretty much the same. I see sort of a sense of community building, which was one of the great things that we experienced, Jermaine and I, last year, how we all just immediately formed this sort of family. And for me, it was great winning, but really that sense of community that we built last year meant so much to me, and I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I love about the web in general, is that, you know, unlike film and television where there is competition, like whose TV show will be on a Thursday night at 8, who gets that time slot, we can all be the best.
There is
room
for all of us. Yeah.
And so there is that sense of community, and we're always supporting each other. Like Jonathan asked me to direct episodes of his show, and you know, in any other arena, I might not have been comfortable to do that, perhaps, but I jumped at the opportunity.
I think the Marseille Web Fest, it's interesting, just in the opening ceremonies and just in speaking with the French contingent of web series producers and event organizers. I've heard them say a number of times that France seems to be behind the times and they're trying to catch up with things. But I would say that having done the Hollywood, the LA Web Fest, and done the circuit sort of last summer, just to see how far the web festivals have come, there is much more business focusing and paying attention here than there was even 6 months ago. So I think that, like everybody else, web series is starting to grow, attention's starting to come our way, but even the festivals, you're starting to see, you know, there's people from Warner Brothers here, there's France TV here, there's feature film producers, whereas with the other festival circuits, just even 6 months ago, it was really just the web. It was our sense of community, us all getting together. It was great to see everyone.
And you can see the city has embraced it too. I mean,
totally.
There was the newspaper spread last night. That hasn't happened. That's unprecedented back home. Maybe it's changing now, but certainly a year ago it was unprecedented.
And maybe it's because France does feel that they're behind the times, that maybe their media and everybody are more disposed to promote it. Because I know in Canada, when I get on the phone and I call up the newspapers and I call up the TV and everything, getting anyone to get any exposure and any press, it just doesn't
hear
happen.
The word web, it's like
oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that it's like, if they're talking about being behind the times, but the fact is that actually I think they're ahead of the times.
I agree.
I actually think that web-based content is basically universally behind the times, especially when it comes to traditional media and it comes to traditional platforms. And I think, I was in Halifax recently, and I was talking with a group of traditional producers and broadcasters, and it's like they're all scared of this world.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's a lot of denial going on out there.
Yeah. I've heard the same thing. Chorus Entertainment, they're big producers in Toronto-based in Canada, and they've seen our work and they hate us because they're like, how did you make that?
Yeah.
And
for so little.
Right. They're terrified.
I think the whole business model is terrified of the web. I mean, from unions to distributors to theater owners to film associations, the rest of it is like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
How come you're doing that? You shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. But this is an important step for it not to become an us and them
course.
thing.
I
mean,
agree.
It would be so easy to fall into that trap, but events like this, I think, are ensuring that it does become the new community
And this is a really exciting time, I find, because it's a group because it is a community right now, as opposed to, as these things tend to get larger, they tend to segregate, and they start to become the kind of the haves and the have-nots, and one is always scratching to try and get into the other side, and you see that in the sort of more traditional television and film, gatherings, but it is actually really has that nice feeling of kind of like everybody's kind of trying to figure this out, and I think probably because there is no specific business model yet that anybody can kind of hitch their
So do you think that compared to the Los Angeles Web Series Festival, this is a much smaller, more intimate festival because there's 22 shows, 11 countries are representing it. Do you think that this actually helps to keep it small, or do you? What is your take on I think a smaller event like this compared to a larger event like
it's going to grow. I think it's just small right now because it's at the beginning. But we're all going to come back here in 5 years and this thing will be out of control. Yeah, I'm sure. It'll be.
I don't know that the event is necessarily smaller though. It's just the selections are smaller. I mean, it seems to be what the attendance they had last year sounds to me like it was as many as LA.
Well, I think though that we also sort of have to look at the method of festivals, where in North America, as us doing web series, it's very, very, very difficult. We have to be intelligent about which web fests we put into because it costs us money. Yeah. Versailles didn't cost us money. They're getting their funding somewhere else, whereas the festivals in North America make their money off of our submissions and hope people will come and support and that sort of thing. So it's for them when when they're getting their funding in a different source, they can maybe, and I don't know, I'm not a festival guy, but looking at it from an outside, perhaps the reason for that is they can be more selective and just sort of have it be these 22 great shows. I mean, when I sit down and I look at the trailers in the show, I'm so proud that I'm involved.
Likewise.
Like my show is in with all of these other shows.
Yeah.
It's humbling. I'm like, holy crap, like this is awesome. Whereas when you have way more of them, you start to see sort of the budget disparities between things, or the resources disparities between things, a little bit more in some of the series there.
So, as indie creators, you guys are essentially your own studio. From the writing to the production to the social media
distribution.
How are you guys creating publicity for yourself?
Wow, right now it's Twitter still. I mean, that's the cheapest and most popular form of publicity for a web series creator, in my opinion. You just kind of have to be strategic. You have to figure out what to say, what to hashtag, who you're talking with, what you're talking about, how much do you plug your own stuff versus, how much fun you have. But yeah, Twitter's been great.
Yeah,
and what's your publicity?
Yeah.
Our biggest success has been connecting with websites that have already established an audience. In the case of With Dad, it's about a girl coming out to her father. And I sort of discovered this by mistake, or by chance, I should say. Some lesbian pop culture websites contacted me and said, hey, can we syndicate your show? And so I give them the embed codes, and they embed it. And in the beginning of Out With Dad, almost 40 to 50% of the viewership was actually happening on the lesbian websites that they were doing the promotion for me. And so I then started taking that lesson and pursuing it. And so now, whenever I find a site where I think, they've got that kind of audience that my audience already identifies with or relates to, then I speak with them. And so that's been it. I mean, there's Twitter and Facebook for sure. Facebook more than Twitter for us. But I think that's just because perhaps the age range. Twitter's an older demographic, I think, and Facebook is more youth.
So what has worked for you though? What has worked for you other than you reaching out to blogs that are
that's been the main thing. I mean, now the audience itself is promoting the show. I am the promoter of Out With Dad, but I actually haven't done that much, and yet it's the most watched web series ever produced in Canada.
There is a word of mouth factor, I think, that's worth happening with us. And, I've approached the same concept of word of mouth, but gone through live interaction at comic conventions and that type of
a lot of success with that.
A lot, especially in Calgary. They had a huge Calgary expo that the entire cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation was together again for the first time in 25 years. So it was the event of Calgary, and if you were there, you were important. And so we have people that never would have even heard of a web series that are now discovering that there is such a thing and that they could actually be good, and then they tell their friends.
Well, and there's cross promotion too. Like I will, when Clutch wins an award, Out With Dad will tweet congratulations to Clutch. And like Hitman 101, like even though it's a vastly different demographic than my audience would maybe want, you know, like I'm mostly like teenage girls that are coming out, but like just check out this Hitman 101 because I just watched it, it's great. And Ruby Sky PI, like I always often promote them, and I know the creator of that show, she said that a huge chunk of her traffic coming to their website was actually coming from outwithdad.com, just because I was promoting them. And reciprocally, they promote us, and that's been a huge help, is promoting other series and them promoting us.
And that, of course, goes back to community.
Community. Right.
Yeah.
Community is the biggest promotion.
I think though that the what you're talking about with the blogs and the focus and that sort of thing, I think that that's almost more of a business model than a promotion thing. I think this time you're talking about the cross promotion and going up, because realistically that is the issue that we are all trying to find with web series. Is our big problem is there is no, if you want to find Divine the Series or Clutch, if it was on YouTube, unless like you typed in web series, you're not going to find it. Finding it is the problem. So you can find and get the demographic. That's sort of the business model that you have to go after and try to find that. You need to find that sort of site. And I think that the cross promotion, that's what we find. I think, you know, sure, we go on and you log into the forums and you log in and you go, hey, did you check out this show? And then log out and then log in and go, yeah, no, I didn't. You know, that sort of sock puppeting, that happens as well.
What are your interaction strategies with your fans? Because I've been in situations where there are certain content that I like, and I comment on it, and I never hear back from the creator. What is your interaction? Do you devote a certain time of day to go online and do the interaction, or are you just kind of like, as it comes, you're doing it? What's your strategy?
I try as it comes, and I find that works, and I noticed because over the last couple of months, I haven't been, just because life got in the way. And I've definitely noticed a slump in the growth. So it is important to do that. And I do try to respond to everything, but like I haven't since beginning of summer.
I think that's our biggest problem is because it is us. It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
To keep doing it, you go in spurts. You know what I mean? Like and the more active I am on Twitter or doing whatever, everything stays active, and then you fall down. The day job comes in.
Yep.
You know,
right.
it gets in the way, and what are you going to do?
And I've tried to get volunteers to do that.
It's not the same, because you're not going to get the same passion.
Right. They try to find
you're amazing. Right.
People I was wondering, are you the only one that writes the site? Why don't you try finding other web series bloggers? And I'm like, they just don't have as much passion.
And I have tried, but it's not
if you leave it up to someone else, it's like it annoys you more when someone doesn't answer the question. Like when you do it, you're like, okay, I can't do it. But when someone else says, yeah, I'll do it, and then they don't, you see something, and it's like it starts nagging at you. Like someone should respond.
Yeah.
Someone should respond.
Well,
okay.
I even tried to get someone to do it all in like do the equivalent in Spanish for me, because we have such a huge Spanish audience. Like subtitling also made a big difference, because I mean, there's people that just love watching things with subtitles. Like there's that demographic, and so when I added Spanish subtitles, like that was the day that really took off. And then comments started coming in Spanish, and so I would respond in English, thanks to Google Translate, knowing what they're saying. But then I had some Spanish friends say, "Well, let me do that for you." Like, great, here's all the passwords. Go at it, and she did it, you know, and then it didn't happen.
It's interesting that you bring that up. We've actually had people requesting the Big Dick Mike show up with a closed caption.
Oh, dude, there's a huge deaf audience.
Right, and we're definitely in the process of doing that.
So are you going to manually transcribe it?
Well, I think we're going to have to, because we
tried the YouTube one. It doesn't work.
Right, exactly. We just did the YouTube thing, and we said, well, yeah, we're going to have to just
but you
put
know
a little
what?
more time in.
Use it, download it, and then edit it. At least it's got the time codes in there for you.
That's a good idea.
It just
okay.
Because then actually, because I have a crew of translators, and so I do the English manually myself, and then I email it to all my Spanish translators. I give them a rough cut so they can see it. Actually, one of the things I'm excited about coming to Europe is I'm going to meet my Italian translator.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
So we're going to finish on the topic of monetizing and funding. Huge thing in the content world. Starting with you, Jay.
Oh, it's a good thing you asked.
Jay.
And we're gonna end with Jermaine. Talk about your monetizing, funding, financing strategy for your series?